Okay, I'm trying to test him, see if he's paying attention.
Paying attention, hon.
Okay, counterfeit happiness. Let's take a look at happiness and pleasure. Most people try to live a pleasure-oriented life, chasing all kinds of things that give them temporary pleasure. Counterfeit happiness. True happiness is something that lasts a long time and is not a short-lived in the moment. Happiness has a sustaining element to it. So, when you're faced with the choice of what to do in your life now, examine if you're seeking pleasure or happiness. Happiness is a byproduct of the life you are leading. Pleasure is a pursuit. It's hard to define how happy you are when doing something until you do it. On the other hand, pursuing and chasing pleasure is always temporary. Most people have been living a life of instant gratification. That would be temporary pleasure. Counterfeit happiness only fools you. Happiness comes when you are true to yourself, when you are doing what touches your heart, what's service to others, what makes a difference in this world, what matters to you, why you came here, what your purpose is. That's where happiness comes from. Okay, Ray. So what do we have, Ray?
Well, we have two comments, one comment and your response today to this. Counterfeit happiness.
Counterfeit happiness. Wow. You know, a lot of people were living counterfeit happiness lives before this pandemic hit. A lot of people were. They kept running around chasing things, pursuing things out there, pursuing. Anytime you're pursuing, you're chasing it. Okay. And anytime you're doing that, that's counterfeit happiness. That is pleasure seeking. All right.
Seems so natural, though, because everybody's doing it.
No, they're not doing it now.
Not doing it now,
No,
but before.
Once your life came to a halt, you know, from this whole thing, it gave you a chance to realize as you, how could I describe it? It's almost like having a drug that you got addicted to, and now you're being weaned off of it. That's what this pause button, this shutdown, this this stay in place mandate has been all about. This social distancing, this face diaper. I mean, really, it's been such a pullback from everything. It has given us time to reflect on the life we were living and reevaluate what we were doing. We've got an interesting comment that Viola left today on this post where she talks about how, I'm going to describe it, where after being, you know, in isolation, in lockdown, separate from everybody, divided, separate, how once she did come out, once she did do something, she went from over here completely out of balance to being completely out of balance over there. Expect yourself to do that because it's natural. You've been out of whack for so long. You've been pleasure seeking most of your life, and then wham, going out into more pleasure seeking. I mean, you're trying to, grasp something that you were fond of, that used to be your lifestyle. Although you were always pleasure seeking, meaning it never fulfilled you. It never lasted like happiness does. Okay. So let's give Ray just a moment here. Okay, thank you, Ray. He's got everything set up to go.
Yep.
And we had a comment. You're going to read
Viola.
Viola's great.
Okay, Viola said, this is kind of interesting. I got a kick out of this one. A funny incident about pleasure and happiness comes to my mind when researching reading this insight. A couple of weeks ago, on a rare occasion, I had a couple of beers.
Yeah.
Notice she said a couple. Because I rarely drink because I do a lot of sports,
Right.
and drinking makes me slow. After 4 lovely Belgian beers,
Stout.
that wasn't a couple, that's 2 couples, 4 Belgian beers,
Yeah.
which are quite heavy.
See how what happened to her is she was in this lockdown situation for so long, diapered up, mask, and all this kind of stuff, that when she did come out, she swung far and wide the other way. It's natural to do that, you guys. Go ahead, Ray.
Okay, so I felt very pleasant with myself. I took the action to invite some people over to celebrate my birthday the following week. So I started sending out messages on my phone.
This is funny.
I loved the reactions I received. I couldn't count them.
By then she was probably on the second one,
Yeah, I was way too pleasant with my feeling that these messages and the beer gave me. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy head and a phone full of messages. It seemed like I had invited over 45 people to my tiny house for a barbecue. Whoa, that would never fit. And in these COVID-19 times, impossible. I did not feel too happy about myself. Then, a few days later, the Dutch government announced that they're not going to allow people to invite more than 6 people to your house for a private party. So what I did is I divided my birthday weekend up into time slots so everybody could come over. And I could really be with all these nice people in smaller groups. In the end, that solution made me happy. And I will not be drinking any more beer on my birthday. So Linda said, I would call this episode Delayed Happiness. These are examples of what we do when we have been repressed for so long.
Right. When you've been repressed, like you have all been repressed. It amplifies everything else that's going on, that repression is all about, what it brought to the forefront, what's right in your face now that you need to take a look at. That's been out of balance for many, many years, maybe even your whole life. But it's not unusual, like what Viola went through, to when you come out of lockdown, you come out of isolation, to go wrong way out here, not unusual at all. I even had a talk with Ray about that. About, we go out, we do things and stuff. When we ever do go out, we've just been busy with this project, okay? And Ray's got his business too. So we're happy. We're happily busy with what we do and how we help people, because we're not coming from a counterfeit happiness perspective, Ray and I. We're coming from a, not from pleasure, but from happiness, from true happiness, from being of service to all of you, to help you understand what's going on as we move through it, and the guides and the wisdom they have to share with all of you to keep you stable and not swinging way out here or way out there. Okay.
We don't experience a lot of those wide swings like other people do who have just been locked down for 6-7 months.
Right.
I mean,
it's been our lifestyle for many years.
Yeah, this work from home thing
we've been doing for many, many years.
I've been doing this since 1992.
Right.
I've worked from home.
But Ray, you went out to dinner every night.
But
so it's not the same thing as it is now.
I know, but working from home. But now, working from home is not a big shock. But right. I'm shocked with when I go out or when we go out.
We are.
I mean, it's like everybody's walking around. Nobody looks at you. They're all masked up. They're wandering around.
We don't want to go. We don't want to go out in that.
No,
that's our choice. We don't like what we're seeing. We don't like the way people are really getting the feeling they have inside. We can feel it, and we'd rather be doing our work and helping people, reaching people, than mingling in that dysfunction. That's how we feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, why would we want to go out and put ourselves through that? Go to the grocery store or you could go out to eat, I mean, you could go out and pick up food, maybe, but we found out that we could have groceries and food delivered right here.
It's worked out for us because of, because it's been a necessity in terms of us staying up with what we're doing. So that works out. And again, when you're doing something that service to others like this, it's got more meaning. It's got meaning in it. So you're not chasing pleasure. You're not pursuing something. You're not chasing something out there. Okay. That's what's different about it. So this whole thing, when it's used to your highest and best good, this whole episode, this whole thing going on with this virus, and God only knows, second wave, third wave, whatever's coming next, and how much truth is there in it, again, it comes back down to doing your own research. You guys, the guides will always tell you, do your own research. Many of you are doing your own research. You send Ray and I in Messenger little videos you find and stuff. Brilliant. You're doing your research. It's brilliant. Okay. We're going to talk, the guides are going to talk about this on Saturday. This Saturday, August 29th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. You can go to my website, lindadeer.com, and click on live events. You're going to see the live event we're going to be doing. It's a live event. It's a paid event webinar, 1 hour, $29. And it's that way because what they're going to talk about would not be something that the guides want to announce openly on open forums, because we don't need to be a target, Ray and I. And the guides will not make us into one. So we do these in private webinars where you get the lowdown on what's really, you get to see into it. Okay. So check out the webinar. Make sure you do that for this Saturday. We only do these once a month.
Right. Plus, we don't have a slant either way because your fan base is worldwide. They're split on issues, 50-50, let's say.
The fan base that I have wants the truth.
Right.
All you guys you just want the truth. Keep the bias off of it. Everyone can keep their opinion out of it. Right. Just give me the truth. And you guys find this truth and share it with us. Brilliant. You guys are doing awesome. I don't think I've received one thing in Messenger from you guys about your research that wasn't absolutely dead on.
Right.
You guys are on it.
And they're out doing their research. They're finding people we never heard of. Talking about
I'm telling you, and the guides are going to really get into that this Saturday to give you a clear direction going forward. In fact, the name of the webinar is The Light Beings Reveal How to Bring Your Life Back. How to bring back your life is how it's worded. How to bring back your life. Now, not the life you used to live, the way you used to live it, where you had blinders on, where you didn't know what was going on. Now you know. Now you've got an idea about what's going on. So when these guides talk to you, you're going to get it. You're going to know what to do. You're going to have choices that make sense. Okay. It's interesting what we're coming into. It's almost like you're going to be on two roads at the same time. Don't miss the webinar. All right, Ray.
Let's talk about counterfeits.
Yep.
Counterfeit stuff.
Boy, aren't there tons of counterfeits now?
Scams. Yeah, counterfeit this.
Oh my God.
That. Yeah. Here's something that annoys me. When people think that you're guilty until proven innocent. That's kind of goes against the grain here in this country. You're not guilty until you're proven. In some countries you are, but not this one.
Well,
yet. What I hate when it comes to counterfeit stuff is when I go into like a grocery store or a store, and you're up at the counter paying for your stuff, and you pull out a $50 bill or a $100 bill. What do they automatically assume? Yeah, or they put the little pen on it, or they put the light on it, and they think you're trying to pass a counterfeit bill.
Well, they're suspicious because the loss to the store would be more than they want to take on. Okay.
Right.
And what Ray feels like as a customer, okay, he feels like he's being treated like, how did I just say it, Ray?
You're being judged.
You're not being respected. You know, Ray takes it personally.
Yeah.
You think I'm a counterfeiter? That's why you would go through this right in front of me. In fact, in front of everybody else in the line, you would do that?
Yeah, and what makes it matters worse is if you took the bill back and gave them another one out of your wallet, they'd call the police.
They would?
Sure, you're trying to pass counterfeit money.
You mean if it was counterfeit?
No, even if it wasn't, well, how often they've never found one of my bills that was counterfeit.
If you had a bill, okay, if you had a dollar, some kind of denomination in American dollars, and it turned out to be counterfeit, you didn't counterfeit the money. It got passed off onto you.
Right.
You know, that's why a lot of people get their money from a bank, because supposedly, let's hope, the banks actually manage the money and they don't pass it back, right? If it's no good, right?
Right. Yeah. They take old bills out. They can spot counterfeit ones a lot easier with machines than they can at the
So that's one example of counterfeit. Keep going, Ray.
Okay.
Give me something juicy.
All right. So how does it make you feel if you have something that's counterfeit? Okay, so let's say a woman likes to buy purses, and she goes out and she loves this particular designer purse, but she can't afford it.
It's $1,500. Come on,
or more.
$1,500 for a purse.
Or more.
That's nothing but look at me stuff, right?
Right. So she goes out and she buys a knockoff, a counterfeit knockoff. I mean, how does that make you feel? If I was that person, I would feel terrible.
Why?
Prancing around with that.
Why?
Because I knew it was fake. And that the goal in having it was to push yourself off on other people as somebody you're not.
That's true.
You're the counterfeit.
That's what it turns out to be. Yeah. That's right. It's ridiculous.
It
if somebody's going to judge you, if you're hanging out with people who need to think that you're, rich and famous or something, I don't know, you buy $2,000 purses. Okay. If you're hanging out with people like that, I look at it more like you're a target. Actually, you just set yourself up for trouble. You attract the wrong people. Okay. So being a counterfeit, that's basically being a counterfeit, portraying yourself as something that you're not. And even if you are, that's the last, Warren Buffett, I'm not a fan of Warren Buffett, but Warren Buffett drives he drives a 1976 truck around.
He drives some old car.
Yeah.
He still lives in the same house he bought in the 50s.
Yeah. I mean, he lives really low key. That's being happy with yourself, you guys.
Sam Walton drove an old Ford pickup when he was a billionaire.
That's just being happy with yourself, and so it's anytime you feel like you have to be something, bigger than you are, that something different than what you are, to do something that is a pretense.
Yeah. Happiness in and of itself has an accomplishment component.
It does.
You did something in your life. You did
that
something
matters
for
to
others. You did something for the world that makes you happy.
Yeah. That if you could afford to do it for free, you'd do that.
Right. You don't have to be rewarded with cash for everything you do.
Not everyone can afford that, but if you could afford to do it, that's what you would do. That's running on your happiness, your happy, self, your who you are. That's who you are.
So the happiness is inside.
It is.
Comes from inside.
Yes.
Whereas the pleasure is outside of you.
Temporary pleasure.
Temporary pleasure.
Anything that's temporary is pleasure.
Right. Or fleeting. Happiness, I don't know. Happiness could be short-lived, but at least you experienced it inside yourself. It wasn't something you went out and bought. You might think that buying, a $1,000, $2,000 Armani suit to wear to work would make you happy, but it doesn't. First time you spill coffee on it, So you wouldn't feel real happy about wasting your money on something that,
That's so fragile.
Right. Or you got
you got a new car and somebody keyed your car.
Yeah.
So that it's really a matter of being overextended too. And if you have a car that's a good example. If you have a car that somebody keys and it doesn't matter, not that you want your car keyed. I mean, you don't want to walk, yeah, but it's not the end of the world. Then that's letting you know that you're not living in an overextended life. Where if you're driving, a $450,000 car and somebody keys it, you're almost asking for it because people are jealous because you've got something that they want to have. It's
Right.
it calls in the wrong attention.
So pleasure is a thing you buy or rent temporarily.
Temporary.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
But the happiness, the pleasure has an expiration date, let's say.
It does. That's good, right?
You buy something, you use it all up, it's gone. Got to buy more of it.
Yeah.
Or
to bring back that feeling. We talk about the dopamine and the serotonin in here. Talk about that a little bit. Did you cover that, Ray?
No.
Ray Holly?
Yeah, let's see here.
There's actually a chemical.
Two chemicals.
Yeah.
They're like yin and yang. Dopamine and serotonin. Well, dopamine, when you chase things and you chase pleasure, you're increasing your dopamine. That's what gives you the pleasurable feeling.
It's the thrill.
That's what gives you the dopamine in your brain. It's a neurotransmitter. It gives you the feeling of pleasure, where serotonin gives you a different feeling. It gives you the happiness.
The happiness feeling.
So, and it's okay to balance them out, yin and yang. But if you just always, as you're chasing the
dopamine,
the rush,
the thrill,
the pleasurable rush, you're also working against lowering your serotonin levels
and dopamine.
Right. Yeah. Well, what happens if you go all one way? Pretty soon, you can't make enough of the serotonin to be happy. You get depressed.
You can't bring the high back.
Right. You get depressed.
Where the happiness, the serotonin, in balance with the dopamine, is a natural high.
Right. Okay, it's a natural high. So let's say somebody chases pleasure and they try something like heroin.
Oh, that's
for the first time. Okay.
This is a good one.
They chase the pleasure of taking drugs, taking heroin, and then what happens?
Well, the first time they take the heroin, studies prove the first time they take the heroin, it's utopian. Okay, it's a true pleasure rush.
Right.
And they take it again because they want that feeling back, that pleasure feeling back. And they never seem to be able to capture what they experienced that first time. So they keep taking more and they deplete their dopamine. The dopamine that's natural in your body, the chemistry, is depleted. It's worn down along with the serotonin. And that takes you down. That's how people get addicted.
Depressed.
And definitely depressed.
Well, yeah, especially for an addict that tries it and can't stop, and now they're stealing from their parents, their friends, they're breaking,
they're desperate.
They're desperate for the money.
They're desperate
to keep the pleasure going.
Right. That's what happens. So the balance of these two, and counterfeit happiness and pleasure, okay, and the balance of these two is really, really important. That's what Viola found out.
Right.
Viola came out of, let's say, out of hibernation, in a way, and she just went all out. You guys, that's natural after you've been held down and repressed for so many months. It's natural. I even said to Ray, when we go out, do you think? I mean, look what Viola went through. Do you think we could go long, way out and swing far and wide in one direction? And he goes, yeah, it's possible. I said, I know it would be it for anybody. You guys, we've all been we've been repressed more than you. It's affected us more than you think it has.
Right.
That's the whole point here. Counterfeit happiness. This puts the spotlight on counterfeit happiness, what we've chased in the past before this lockdown, this mandate. Before that, everybody was just chasing, trying to find happiness. I'm just looking for happy. I just want to be happy. You hear it all the time. All right. And really, it's about what they were chasing is pleasure. They called it happiness. Counterfeit happiness is mistaking happiness for pleasure.
That's right. I found a good quote that said, There's nothing less pleasurable than a life devoted to pleasure.
Oh, that will bring, an example of that, Ray, would be the heroin.
Yeah, drugs,
Reaching for, trying to find the next, the
drugs,
high, the,
sex, shopping, you name it.
yep. Whatever you're going out to dinner, you're used to going out to dinner every Friday night. You've got to go out to dinner on Friday. It's just part of what makes your life worth living. Temporary happiness.
Yeah.
And that's been cut out. So what have you replaced it with? How have you replaced temporary happiness for real happiness? Temporary happiness is just pleasure. It's pleasure seeking. Okay. So what is it you do now that really makes you happy? It's not something you have to go out and do. It's something that's inside of you.
Well, a lot of people thought they could get the same kind of pleasure, the same kind of feeling by ordering food from their favorite restaurants and having it delivered to their house. Maybe have a couple friends over, but they found out it didn't work.
It didn't work, Ray? Yeah. Okay, we're going to wait for Ray to finish choking here.
Yeah, here.
Go ahead, Ray. Finish choking. I want to hear the rest of your thought.
Well, it wasn't
The
the
food.
food.
It was going out.
It wasn't the people. You
Being
could go out with the same people and have drinks and have fun,
being in the social environment,
interaction.
hearing the music,
Right.
dressing up, going somewhere,
Right.
like on a date, something special.
Something you could show off your new counterfeit purse. Really.
It's true.
Think
about how much of that was just nonsense. This whole thing that's gone down has given us all a chance to look at what is important in our lives, what really matters. Where are we real? How much realness did we really have in our lives? And how do we get right with that? Go ahead, Ray.
Well, here's another quote I found that kind of is in that vein. It says, to achieve happiness, you must appreciate what you already have.
Isn't that the truth?
Or you wouldn't be happy.
Right.
To achieve happiness, you must appreciate what you already have.
And gratitude. And that doesn't come out of the thrill. There's nothing wrong with the thrill, you guys. I like the thrill. The thrill's a lot of fun. All right. But it's not sustainable. It doesn't support your day-to-day life. It's not something that if you reach for the thrill all the time, that's messed up, you guys. Okay. Finding true happiness is an inside job, like what Ray's talking about. It's about doing what's true to you. It's about being who you are. It's about taking that and sharing that with others who are who they are and who appreciate who you are. Being around the right people. No fakes, no $2,500 purses to flash and look better than someone else and that type of thing. That's just ridiculous.
That goes back to being content with what you have.
It does.
Before you go chasing
stuff.
More stuff.
Yep.
Stuff that you have to
a bigger house, a nicer car. How much do you really need? Did you need all that stuff?
Well, everybody has a relationship with everything, especially their car, and their clothes and their persona and things. But what is your relationship with your car? What do you do with your car? Do you drive it back and forth to work, 5 days a week, and wear it out? Or do you have...
Well, what's important now? Look what's going on in our world. What's really important now to you and your family? What's important now? What's important when you ask your kids what's important to them, as opposed to what used to be important to them before this all went down? What's really important?
One thing that's important, that's right in front of everybody's faces, is companionship. All the animal shelters are practically empty.
True.
We've had how many people say, hey, where can I get a kitten or a puppy? At the animal shelter. No, I went to the animal shelters. They're all out.
And you know what that is? At least for most people, that's not temporary happiness. That's not temporary pleasure is what I mean. That's true happiness, where you love each other. You love that little animal, and you'd do anything for that little guy. In fact, you'd feed them before you fed yourself.
Right.
That's where you give more than you receive. That's where happiness is.
Right. And if you're not happy with, getting a kitten, you should get 2 or 3 kittens. You'd be surprised how much happiness 2 or 3 kittens are.
Yeah. So people, you know what? When they were pushed against the into the corner, they did the right thing, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, I saw a story the other day. This older couple, went to look for a dog. They wanted a dog, and they went to the shelter, and there was very few dogs there, and they took this dog that was a boxer. It looked really sad. The dog looked really sad. It was a female. Had been in the shelter for 7 years. And the dog looked happy with them. I don't know why dogs,
Well,
that's like a prison sentence.
well, that's right. That's one of the benefits of what happened.
Right.
That's one of the good things that came out of this whole thing since 2020 began is that, the animals are now getting a fair shake.
Yeah. That's good.
It is good.
People are finding out that some of these animals they like them more than they like the people that they used to go out to dinner with.
It's unconditional love, right?
It is unconditional. You don't get unconditional love by going out and getting drunk, with your friends.
No.
You could get severe consequences. Yeah, it's the consequences. I had another, here it is, another saying. The difference between happiness and pleasure. Happiness is pleasure without the regrets.
That's good. Happiness is pleasure without the regrets. That's right. Because when all you're doing is seeking pleasure and chasing pleasure, okay, pursuing pleasure, there's always that, what do you call it?
Consequences.
No. After the pleasure's over, the thrill is over. There's that downside, what do you call it? It's where when the pleasure's over, there's a big.
It's like a rush. It's like when you ride a roller coaster. It's a big temporary rush and gets all your adrenaline going
really fast,
and big hills. And then you're pulling back into the thing,
and it's just a big loss, or not a loss, but
what does it make you want to do? Well, as a kid,
do it again.
You get out and run around,
just like the heroine.
Get back in line.
The heroine, they want to chase the rush, the thrill. They want to bring back that pleasure. They're looking to repeat it. All right. So anytime you catch yourself addicted to the pleasure, it's okay to have pleasure, you guys. There's nothing wrong with it. It's getting addicted to it. It's creating a lifestyle where everybody in your family, the kids, your husband, your wife, everybody's chasing pleasure, going to the sports game, getting excited. Oh, my team won. My team lost. It's all about the dopamine. It's all about the high, the momentary pleasure or letdown. It's riding the roller coaster, and I mean, people were doing it every weekend, you guys, before this all went down. It's important to reflect on what you've been doing and how your life has been passing you by while you were distracted with all these temporary pleasures. That's what's important to pay attention to. Who are you and why are you here? What did you come here to do? Now you've had a chance to reflect on that and determine what that is.
Yeah, this whole thing, if you ever wonder is your life ever going to come back? Are you ever going to be able to do the things that you loved doing in the past? What they're going to talk
Not
about.
like you used to.
Right. And
none of the things like you used to.
You know what smacks of it right in your face? Watching a baseball game and seeing all those cardboard people having fun.
Have you seen that in the stadium? They have these cardboard people filling the chairs. And really what's funny is the commentators are in control of the sound effects, and they have the crowd going screaming, yeah, like and so to keep the players amped up,
Yeah.
to keep the temporary pleasure in play like they were used to keep them exhilarated to do their best.
Right.
How about that?
Yeah.
So it's still feeding itself for the players, all right? So they can keep the momentum up. Otherwise, they're just playing like, okay, here's an example. We do these on Zoom. We do, in fact, everything we do is on Zoom, has been since the beginning, all right? And a lot of people were doing things live while we were doing them on Zoom before the pandemic went down. The pandemic went down and people had to take their live event onto Zoom. And not only were they bewildered by the technology, but they were bewildered about not having the feedback from the audience. We were accustomed to not having it. We get the feedback all day long from all of you, feedback and different things you send to us, and different things you comment on, and we're used to that kind of feedback. You guys watch these videos in the replay. We hear back from you. You sign up for things, you get other things that we're doing. And we're used to working with you like this. Now, if I was to stand in front of you in a live setting, that'd be easy for me now. Totally.
Right.
Totally easy. Where most people have trouble doing what Ray and I've become accustomed to doing over technology,
You know what people are having trouble with? These late night talk show hosts standing there in their living room with no audience trying to be funny.
And you hear them tell their jokes and it goes flat. There's no back up for them of people roaring and laughing and for them to what they really have in these studios is they've got this sign that you can't see that's outside of the frame of what you're seeing that says clap, laugh and all these kind of signals going off to the audience, and they respond with that so that it,
like Pavlov's dogs,
it builds excitement, temporary pleasure,
right,
over the airwaves, and it sounds so full. Okay, where when you see something like this, it's so different. We don't even have any props like those buzzers and all these different things like Kramer has.
Yeah.
There's different people that use different things to bring excitement when they don't have a live audience in front of them. We've never used any of it. What Ray and I have done is we've used each other. And then when we get you guys talking on the set, then we bring that in, and we have the guides talk to you and stuff like that. So, we've got a lot of interesting things so what do we have, Ray? What? Okay. So anyway, you guys, did you get through your questions, Ray?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, when we first started doing this, and we would have nobody on at the time, we were bewildered about. Both of us were. How do you work with this? How do you do this? That was back in 2017. Man, it's easy now. All right. So especially when you know your subject matter, and when we know what you guys are reaching for after the years and years of working with you all, and how to address the things that you're most concerned about that are in your life right now, that you're confronted with right now. All right. So anyway, this is really going to be covered in depth on Saturday, August the 29th at 1 p.m. Pacific time in our live webinar, 1 hour webinar, $29, but you're going to get the lowdown from the guides about what's going on. They are going to be talking to you. All right. Go to my website and check it out. I'm going to get, we've got this, right, Ray?
We've got this.
Okay. So I'm going to move into a few announcements, and then Ray and I are going to close this with the closing message from the guides. All right. Join me September 1st. I will be streaming live on my Facebook page, my Facebook timeline, and my YouTube channel. Use the search term Linda Deer. This will be a Q&A and commentary for next Tuesday's Insight, published in Linda's Weekly Guided Insights with me, Ray, and my spirit guides at 6 p.m. Pacific time. In Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, my spirit guides will be talking about people are feared into believing what they are told. When you think for yourself. It forces you to do your own research and think outside the mainstream media. What seems to be so painful about doing your own research, looking for proof about what you are being told as accurate or not? If everything you hear or read is someone else's agenda, then you should be examining what was said, why it was said, and who benefits from it. And that was most likely not you. So start getting Linda's weekly guided insights delivered to your email box each Tuesday. Sign up, it's free. Look for the link in the description of this video. Training with Linda. One-on-one training with Linda Deer and her guided journal writing system. Look for the link in the description of this video. Our webinar this Saturday, August 29th, entitled Linda Live. The light beings reveal how to bring back your life, but not like you think. On August 29th, the light beings will be talking about the consequences of the choices you have been making and the danger of what the consequences will be if you continue to think that way. Look for the link in the description of this video. And then 2 Saturdays from now, because Ray and I are going to be doing the webinar this Saturday. All the other Saturdays, I read from my books. So 2 Saturdays from now, September 5th, at 1 p.m. Pacific time, I will be reading from chapter 18 of Guided. All right, so to be all you came here to be, find a way to support those who have made a difference in your life. Share this video and tell your friends about my work if I make a difference in your life. About these Tuesday insights, about reading from my books on Saturdays, about learning to channel using Ask the Universal Channel, about our monthly webinars the last Saturday of each month, and about my one-on-one coaching and training. Okay. So we're going to close the session with our closing message about counterfeit happiness. And here they go.
People dislike fakes. If you had a choice, would you want to spend time with a self-centered person who only talked about themselves? People who chase pleasure seem to think that others want to hear about their pleasurable life. But when you are a truly happy person, when you are around others, the happiness multiplies. Happiness is what is contagious. So stop being distracted and chasing things that don't bring you happiness. Have gratitude for what you do have and do not be depressed over what you don't have. You have exactly what you need at any time in your life to be happy. You may not recognize it, at sometimes. It's there. Look for it and nurture it. You have everything you need inside of you to be a happy person.
The only thing that can get in the way of it is your lack of patience with yourself.
Yeah. I want to be happy right now.
Yeah. And you can be happy right now, but you have to be content with your situation. You have to be content and trust that your situation is exactly as it should be. What I mean by that is you need to become conscious. When you're conscious, there's no way that you're not present. And when you're present, there's no way you can miss the happiness.
That's right.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
We'll see you this Saturday at the
Saturday.
webinar. We'll see you next Tuesday.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.